This is a story of fiction and by no means my personal manifesto. Blur. Chapter 1, Finding My Nerve. What was I doing? Here I was standing in front of this old church. It wasn't really that unique compared to all the other churches I visited throughout the years. It was just typical. Its rustic red bricks piled up towards the pinnacle of a steeple, a testament to its many years of local servitude to this small town called Lochslale, and on the very top was that old rugged graven image they all cherished so dearly. Oh, how they clung to that old rugged cross, continually spitting in Yahovah's face as they broke the second commandment, without any shame whatsoever. Adam put his hand underneath his trench coat, reaching for a see-through plastic bag of cigarettes he purchased at the Indian reservation just outside of town. Adam fumbles around, slowly retrieving a single smoke and a disposable lighter he got from the dollar store, as his hand brushes against the hilt of a sawed-off shotgun he had carefully concealed underneath his jacket. What am I doing again, he asked himself as he placed the cigarette in his mouth and lit the end, taking in a deep drag, just trying to do anything to calm his nerves. I have loved my neighbor as myself, his mind raced. I have been no respecter of persons, and I have in any wise rebuked my neighbor, and not suffered sin upon him. I have fulfilled the royal law according to Scripture, and I do well. Like popcorn, the Scriptures flashed into Adam's mind. Leviticus 19, verse 15 to 18, and James 2 verse 8. I have seen this sword coming, and I have warned them all. Their blood is not on my hands, he thought as he contemplated what he was about to do. Like popcorn popping pop pop. The Scriptures flooded Adam's racing mind. Ezekiel 2. Ezekiel 3. Ezekiel 33, 1 Peter 4:17. And judgment must begin at the house of the Lord. Shit. Did I just say that out loud? Adam thought to himself as he watched more and more people flood into the church. I know they think I'm crazy. I know how they love to judge me yet continually leave off the weightier matters of the law. If only they would judge me with righteous judgment, then surely would I love them all. A man in his mid-60s walks towards the front doors, turning his head slightly and giving a passing glance at Adam. The cold air around Adam had left icicles on his overgrown mustache as he contemplated. Not once do these bastards stop and ask themselves if I even keep the 10 Commandments. Pop, Hebrews 12:8. They are all bastards. Adam could see the demons in the man's eyes, and at that very moment, he knew exactly what the man was thinking. And how with flatteries he was corrupting the minds of the simple, and how his ear-tickling words have led so many astray, attempting to replace the covenants of promise with their own self-righteous standards. The cackling thoughts of the demon inside the man revealed themselves. Look at him destroying his own body, sucking back on a cigarette, his long unkempt hair, his shaggy beard. Adam could hear the man's thoughts. But what did he miss? Are you here for the service? The man repeated himself as he stood on the stairs and looked at Adam with frustration in his face by the bright red doors. Adam quickly snapped out of his blur. Welcome, the man said. There was an awkward silence for a moment. Adam chastised himself in his own mind for being so socially retarded and caught up in the moment. Red? Why are the doors always red? Adam moves himself towards the bright red doors as he slowly enters into the front lobby of the church. The older man walks past Adam after ushering him inside so politely and inviting into the house of Baal. He is a hypocrite and a hireling, Adam thought. The constant pounding of Scriptures kept piercing relentlessly into Adam's mind. Pop, pop pop, popcorn popping, or raindrops falling, or war drums pounding. A symphony of here a little and there a little, here a little and there a little, precept upon precept and line upon line. Deuteronomy 32. Isaiah 28. Jeremiah 18. The Scriptures kept pouring into Adam's head as he embraced them like an old friend. This is my spot. This is it. I am finally here, he thought as he pushed the heavy metal steel doors shut and pulled out 2 small wedges from within his pockets, kicking them firmly underneath. 2 men quickly start walking towards Adam with a look of bewilderment on their faces as they come to investigate what he is doing. The first man was heavy-set and balding, and the second man looked frail and weak. "Send me your preacher," Adam shouted, as he quickly pulled the shotgun from his overcoat. The hilt of the gun was sawed off and short. An old guitar strap secured it to his body. The two men stopped dead in their tracks as the smaller, more delicate character of the two turned and quickly scurried off. Tick, tick, tick. Adam's senses seemed heightened as he hears the sounds of the clock behind him on the wall, and the voices of the masses stopping their ridiculous chants. 1 second they were singing about power in the blood, and the next a symphony of muffled voices blending together like the waves in an ocean. "Thank you, Father," Adam says to himself as he realizes the symbolic meaning encapsulated in the color of those cold metal blood-red doors. "And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts, and on the upper door post of the houses wherein they shall eat it. And thou shalt write them upon the door posts of thine house, and upon thy gates." Pop, pop. Exodus 12 verse 7, Deuteronomy 11 verse 20. They are seeking a covering. If only they would have read their own book, then this angel of death wouldn't be standing at their front doors right now. Adam's mind raced with the implications of his newly revealed revelation. Tick, tick, tick. I pushed my back up against the wall and waited as the seconds passed by slowly. Pay attention, Adam. This is no time to gap out. Did I just say that out loud? Adam thought to himself as he waited for the preacher patiently. Gapping out is what I call it, and for the most part it has been a blessing, a true friend. The ability to disappear and absorb myself into a vastness that most people could never understand in a million years. It has been an escape mechanism allowing me to completely remove myself from all the chaos. But at times it has been a very real danger. The simple act like crossing the street, for instance, could have dire consequences for a man like me. It hasn't proven to be very useful at times. Throughout my life it has crushed my dreams from excelling in various careers. I knew everything there was to know about being a plumber, for instance, or at least enough to make a living, but to apply the information was virtually impossible. And after that I learned the art of roofing, but what is the point if I gap out and put the shingles on upside down? Because in my own mind, I am playing a game of 4D chess, caught in a daydream and whisked away into a world of irrelevance. Yes, it has been a blessing and a curse, something I would never give up, and a part of myself I have grown to hate all at the same time. My own mind has become an oxymoron to me. The preacher stands in front of Adam, terror sealed upon his face. I've done it again, Adam ponders. How long has he been standing there, I wonder? I can see the sweat on his forehead as he rustles at his white collar and tries to control something as common as breathing normally. What a coward, Adam thought as he watches the priest hyperventilate. Yes, what a coward, and all cowards go to hell. Mene, mene tekel. You have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Tick, tick, tick. Pop, pop, popcorn popping. Jeremiah 23, Daniel 5 verse 25, Matthew 23, John 10 verse 12. The distant sounds of sirens play like a lullaby in that cold winter's day as Adam thinks to himself in appreciation. I have finally done it. By fire and by sword the Lord will plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. Pop. Isaiah 66 verse 16. Adam turns his gun towards the preacher's head as the man's face instantly disintegrates into thousands of tiny little pieces of red flesh sprinkling against the church walls, here a little, and there a little. His body falls to the floor. I will bear the indignation of the Lord. As the sirens get closer, Adam mimics the words of the multitude inside that den of vipers known as the Lochslale Gospel Hall. There is power in the blood, power in the blood. There is wonderful power in the blood. My name is Jack. Jack clenched the steering wheel of his police car as he drove at a crazy pace towards the Lochslale Church uptown. Although he wasn't religious, he had many memories of that old church on top of the hill. His own widowed mother was inside. Jack listened to the police scanner as information kept flooding in, but he couldn't help but realize a more reliable source would probably be one of the very many platforms on social media. The church was packed during one of its many Christmas services, and everyone under the age of 50 with a smartphone was streaming the progression of events inside that death trap. This thing went viral instantly. The old church was a fortress built back in the 1800s and only had one practical entrance. All the windows of this landmark were high up, works of art with its many stained glass fragments depicting a great war between angel versus angel in a heavenly battlefield of the clouds in a culmination of what can only be described as a true masterpiece. Jack keeps listening to the police scanner as he pulls up to the church. 4 other cruisers have made it there before him as a scene of commotion takes place around his car while other officers are sealing off the streets with bright yellow caution tape and redirecting traffic. The identity of the shooter is still unidentified. The number of hostages is 65. Jack listened in horror as more information came over the radio. Jack gets out of his car right away as his sergeant quickly pulls up. Jack realizes he is only a rookie, but a lot is invested into this. I know half of the people locked inside that church just a few hundred feet away on the other side of the street. Jack stares at those crimson red doors. Sergeant Wilkerson gets out of his car and quickly approaches Jack. The negotiator is 20 minutes away and about to try to establish contact with the shooter as we speak. The identity of the shooter has now been identified. Jack listens attentively as his sergeant fills him in. Why would anyone do this? Jack asks as he is briefed on the calamity. A small Chinese restaurant called Wan Street is directly across from the church and has quickly been turned into a makeshift station area as Jack and Sergeant Williams walk inside. We have the shooter's therapist being drove in now to fill us in on some more details. The sergeant looks at Jack and says, "The shooter's name is Adam Peterson, and he is local." Back across the street, Adam sat on one of the many chairs now brought up from the common area downstairs. Behind him were a row of children, and in front of him a line of women standing on their feet. Others sat on pews and were free to walk around as they wished, and even recorded all the events taking place. Adam couldn't care less. To him, he was making a statement, and had a story that needed to be told. The old clock that ticked away now lay in many pieces in front of Adam on the floor, and amongst them were the many pieces of the apostate preacher's face. Adam looked at the mess he had made. He thought to himself, to be meek is to do what is necessary while avoiding harshness, but if what is necessary becomes harsh, then so be it. Shit. Did I just say that out loud? Stop talking to yourself, Adam. As I looked up ahead and saw the long line of the women, my heart sunk. Their names were Jezebel and Jezebel and Jezebel and Jezebel, all down the line. Not one of them was dressed modestly, and every one of them had their faces plastered with makeup. Have they not read how Jezebel had painted her face just before 2 or 3 eunuchs threw her out a window and fed her to the dogs? Or how where 2 or 3 are gathered, Messiah will be there also? Of course they haven't. Adam's mind calculated as they have all chosen the path of willful ignorance. Their idols and pagan holidays have made them deaf, dumb and blind. Tick. 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 Pop. Pop pop pop. Deuteronomy 7:26, Jeremiah 10, Psalms 115, Psalms 135. An avalanche of scripture exploded through Adam's mind as a rage built inside of him like a tempest. I look up at a banner above the entrance way made by all the children behind me that says Merry Christmas, and I feel like I want to puke. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Jeremiah 10 echoes through my mind. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen, with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails, and with hammers that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. They must be born, and we become as the idols we worship. I see a plaque on the wall quoting John 3. As it taunts me of the willful ignorance these hypocrites display. Unless ye be born again, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. I see a Christmas tree up on the stage by the altar, and the anger inside me grows. Tear that fucking Asherah pole down right now, you bunch of fucking apostate bastards. I shout out to the main group, but they just look at me dumbfounded. They are far more concerned with me using foul language than with a giant idol on center stage and a physical representation of Nimrod's penis. Thou shalt not plant thee a grove of any trees near unto the altar of the Lord thy God, which thou shalt make thee. I shout, and finally one of them clues into what I was talking about and pulls the cursed tree into the room behind the stage. As Adam's cell phone rings, I pick it up with urgency as I was expecting this call. A man with a deep yet calm and soothing voice speaks on the other end of the line. Is this Adam Patterson speaking? My name is Peter and I have been assigned as your negotiator. It is my responsibility to. I abruptly cut him off mid-sentence. The only person I will talk to is Jack Thomas, I say sharply, as I hang up the phone. Tick. 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 Wall Street is a mess. By this point dozens of tables have been cleared of tablecloths and corny Chinese decorations, and replaced with an arsenal of cell phones and laptops. The sergeant and Jack sit back in one corner as one by one the sergeant gives the other officers clear instructions. Wilkerson with his gray hair and thick white mustache looks at Jack. How are you doing, Jack? I know how close you were to everyone in that church, before what happened. Jack looks back with a blank and calm look on his face. I am just here to do my job, sir, Jack replies. The sergeant looks at Jack and lets him know that he can sit right beside him and get filled in on any information as soon as it comes in. Two men walk into Wall Street. The first one was the therapist they asked for, and the second the negotiator. Does anybody know who Jack Thomas is? The negotiator says in a loud voice for the entire station to hear. Jack with a hesitant look raises his hand as dozens of his colleagues turn and look in his direction. The once noisy room suddenly falls silent. Jack looks at the negotiator as he walks over to his table, and with a deep voice says, "We need to talk." Tick. 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 Behind the red door that cursed clock keeps ticking away the moments of my life, like a relentless master as he hums trying to drown the sound out of his own head. Adam looks at the shattered remains on the church floor of the antique clock that once hung on the wall. One of the women starts mumbling prayers repetitively, and Adam barks out quickly, "Yahovah won't hear your prayers, woman. We know God doesn't hear sinners, but only those who do his will." Pop. John 9 verse 31, "He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be an abomination." Pop. Proverbs 28 verse 9. The woman looks at the floor in confusion with her makeup now smeared with tears as her clothes emphasize every sinful curve of her delicate body. Adam looks down and sees a puddle of urine on the floor and realizes the woman just pissed herself. Adam stands behind her with a look of pity for one brief moment until at last he speaks. "Who are you afraid of, woman?" She keeps looking down at the ground, trembling to find the courage to answer Adam's question. "You. I am afraid of you." Adam stands behind her and in a calm yet monotone voice says the last words she will ever hear. "If only you would fear Yahovah, I wouldn't even be here, you foolish woman." The front of the woman's chest explodes as a mist of blood sprays into the next room. Here a little and there a little. Screams are heard throughout the building as Adam pulls two more shotgun shells from his trenchcoat pocket and quickly reloads his gun. One of the women in the line passes out with fear. Adam realized he didn't even know the woman's name that he just relentlessly executed until he corrected his thought process. Her name was Jezebel. Did I just say that out loud? Shut up, Adam. I move to the next woman in the line. "Who are you afraid of, whore?" The whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. Pop. Ecclesiastes 26:9. "Yahovah, I am afraid of Yahovah," the next woman in line says as she weeps, snot dripping from her nose and eyeliner running down her face. Adam stands behind her with his double-barreled shotgun placed firmly against her back. "I will wink at you, woman. Go read your Bible so you even know what I am talking about." Across the street at the Chinese restaurant, the negotiator stretches out one of his oversized hands and says, "Am I ever glad to find you, Jack. You and you alone is the only person he will talk to." Jack looks back with a look of shock on his face. Me? Why me? I have no idea who this man even is. Peter looks at him and says I haven't a clue, but I wasn't about to agitate him by calling him back until I at least tried to find you. It is at this point that the station area breaks out in a frenzy. There was a second shot just now, the sergeant says as his face suddenly became a little more pale, and Jack could see a look of worry behind his wrinkled eyes. We need to get you on the phone immediately, Jack. I need to brief you first, the therapist says. The sergeant passes Jack the phone and tells the therapist we have no time. Whatever you do, Jack, just calm the shooter down and tell him you have to refer to your colleagues before you can meet any demands. Jack hits send, and the phone begins to ring. Everybody around the table listens in anticipation as the phone is put on speaker mode. After the third ring, Adam picks up. Tick. 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 Shut up, clock. Did I just say that out loud? Hello, Adam quickly says, trying to cover up his previous outburst. Jack nervously says hello. As they talk, Jack says that he was not authorized to establish any terms without first speaking with his authorities. I just want to talk to you, Jack. If you are not over here within the next 15 minutes, I assure you 3 more people will die. Adam immediately hangs up the phone. Within seconds, Jack is being equipped with a bulletproof vest and handed a large stack of pizzas. Jim the therapist blurts out quickly that Adam is manic-depressive with PTSD, ADHD, and has clusters B personality disorder also. Jack was pushed out the door before he could even be properly briefed of the depths of those words. Jack had no choice to do anything but walk across the street. As Jack finally reached those red doors, life seemed a blur. It was a walk of no more than 100 feet, but it seemed to take forever. As Jack reached out his hands, his heart was beating in his chest rapidly like machine gun fire. The only sound he could hear was his own heartbeat as his hand knocked to the rhythm against the cold steel door. Then, as if by some miracle, time seemed to move at normal speed again as he could hear rustling behind the door, and the door opened in towards the nightmare inside. Jack was greeted by the faces of a dozen children who seemed to usher him inside in unison. Come in, Jack. As Jack walks inside of the foyer, he notices a man standing beside him in a long black trench coat with shaggy hair and an unkempt beard. He is pacing back and forth, walking to and fro, and the words he is speaking to himself, although in English, don't seem to have any meaning. Tick. 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 Adam looks at Jack, pulling himself out of another blur, and begins to speak. Time is almost up, Jack, are you ready? Jack looks at the pacing man with concern in his eyes. What could have ever brought a man to do such unspeakable things? Close the door, Jack, says Adam as all the commotion goes on outside. Down the street are various news outlets that have gathered in a media circus. As Adam keeps pacing back and forth and speaking in words hard not to understand but alien all the same, Jack puts down the pizza boxes and lays them in front of the long line of women crying, and closes the big red door behind him. The smell of death and blood is in the air. I see you brought more abominations into the house of Baal. Pop. Pop, 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 pop. Genesis 6-9, Leviticus 11. Isaiah 65, Isaiah 66 verse 17. I can smell your ignorance from here, Jack, and it burns my nostrils and makes my eyes water, Adam says as he keeps moving back and forth to and fro, here a little and there a little. Jack could see the tension building but was unaware how to de-escalate the situation before him. Can we calm down momentarily, Adam, and talk this out? I am permitted to be an advocate between you and the negotiator outside whom you refuse to talk to. And quite honestly, I am also curious as to why I am here at your request. Adam stops his jerky movements for a second and looks at Jack. And although frantic, Adam's cold, weary eyes also seem to tell the story of sleepless nights and endless cycles of lamentation. What part of this comedy before you do you think is negotiable, Jack? What do you mean a comedy? Jack says as his options seem to be nil in Adam's miscommunication. Yahovah is laughing right now, Jack. Yahovah is laughing, I assure you. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him. For he seeth that his day is coming. Pop. Pop. Psalms 37 verses 12 to 13. Do you want to know why you are here, Jack? Adam's tone has become far more melancholy as he speaks, and Jack just listens for a moment, sensing his question to be rhetorical. It is because of your mother, and all those in this church who have hated you so. Jack thought back to his past, and the many years growing up in this very church that suddenly had grasped the attention of an entire nation overnight. I don't think they hated me, Adam, we just had our differences. Adam looks at Jack, and with heartfelt words explains. Your mother was upset how you left the church, Jack, how you refused to come over and celebrate Christmas anymore. She missed your presence, she missed you at Easter dinners, and how you stopped attending Sunday service. But there is more to the story, isn't there, Jack? You for a brief moment actually started loving God. You read your Bible, you saw the hypocrisy. And when I rebuked your mother for all these things, Christmas, Easter, celebrating these pagan holidays and breaking the Sabbath, she told me I sounded just like you, that I was repeating the very words you spoke to her so long ago. And Pastor Bobby laying dead on the floor right now before us, what did he do, Jack? He discommunicated you, didn't he, Jack? He discommunicated you because you actually opened up the Bible and had the grace to love your neighbor as yourself. As Jack listened, he began to choke up in tears, remembering how he tried so hard to point out the obvious errors in the church he had dared to criticize, and how he had lost everyone he ever knew for the Lord's sake. Adam continues, grace is conviction, Jack, it is a divine influence upon the heart and its reflection on life. G 5485, Adam spurts out a reference number from the Strong's exhaustive Greek and Hebrew concordance. And by this conviction, ye are saved. You threw away your graven images, Jack, you turned from the hypocrisy of the apostate church, you even loved your neighbor as yourself. And even though you have fallen from God, alone in this world, Yahovah hasn't forgotten you. Jack trembles as he listens and weeps uncomfortably, hearing not the words of Adam but of the prophets, the Messiah, and Yahovah himself. Jack cried at the revelation he was the lost sheep spoken of in the scriptures. Jack looks at Adam and says, what of the children, what have they got to do with any of this? Tick, tick, tick. Adam looks at the blood, the chaos, the pieces of the broken clock, and the teeth of the hireling laying beside them. The children are the only thing keeping us alive right now, Adam says. They have been behind me this whole time, protecting me from the outside world. Take the children and teach them to do well, Jack. This is your mercy. Now go and take this woman that I winked at, take them along with you, right now in haste. Outside the church, emotions rise as a dozen children, a hysterical woman with a smeared face bearing raccoon-like eyes, and Jack walk out into the street. Adam goes and stands out in front of the church in the entranceway with his arms outstretched and shouts. The bright red doors in this place are a facade, Jack. A charade, an illusion. Keep the 10 Commandments and live. Tick, tick, tick. As Adam screams his last words on that fatal day, bullets pierce through his body relentlessly and without mercy in between those two bright red doors as he falls to the ground and bleeds out for so many to see. Those inside the church begin to frantically rush towards the front, which is the only exit of the building, and try and finally escape the long day of terror. As the sun sets and the night begins, the only two sounds heard were of the congregation within the church, clinging to those cold red doors, and the sound of an alarm clock ringing strapped to Adam's dead chest. Tick, tick, tick. Boom.